So, hello everyone, and welcome to IMC's YouTube meditation session. And for this morning, I'd like to keep the sitting mostly silent and invite you to put together what I've taught so far the first 2 days, which is to whatever happens for you during this meditation, whether it's your breathing that you're able to hang out with, whether it's sensations of your body, sounds in the area where you're at, emotions or thoughts, that you would recognize what's happening, you would know it by stepping back, not being completely entangled, involved with it, or reactive to it, or judging it. Just know it really simply. And then with that ability to not be entangled or reactive, just to know it simply, then come and respect it. Come together and decide the right distance for your awareness to respect it properly. If it's a mountain lion in the wilderness, the respectful distance is really far. If it's a young child that is injured and you're putting on a Band-Aid, the respectful distance is much closer. So find a place and then linger. Stay connected for at least 3 breaths to whatever's happening, and then maybe return to the breathing. And then that would be the rhythm where in the silence of this meditation, you are meeting yourself. You're learning, you're experimenting with how to have the simple presence, recognition with anything that happens. There's a meeting happening. And in a sense, you're meeting yourself, maybe meeting yourself in a deep way. And how you meet it, how you meet your experience is what this meditation is about. Meeting it with a combination of mindfulness and concentration. So then we'll just start, and with no other preliminary. If you'd like to use a preliminary way of relaxing and settling in like we usually do, you're welcome to do that. And otherwise, you're welcome to just to begin as you wish, but we'll keep the silence today. for this meditation, instead of being lost in thought or caught up in thinking, meet your direct experience, one at a time, giving time for each meeting with mindfulness and steadiness. As we near the end of this sitting, for whatever is your predominant experience of the moment, the direct experience, step back from it a bit and know it with respect. Almost as if you bring your hands together to bow in respect to whatever is happening, allowing it to be as it is, knowing it, meeting it with respect and care. And then to turn your attention outwards to the communities and people around you, spreading outwards in your neighborhoods or counties, provinces. And the people that you will meet, knowingly, or you know about, or you don't know today. That in the meeting with others, can you meet them with respect? Where you are independent, not entangled with them, but able to see them clearly, kindly, with respect. Independent, but always ready, in at least your heart, to bow in respect to whoever you meet, regardless. And for the people who are challenging for us, maybe we can imagine that one reason that they're challenging for you, their behavior, is because they have not received enough respect and care for their basic humanity. And perhaps without agreeing to them, condoning what they do, being independent of them, offer them respect. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. And may all beings everywhere be free. And may our ability to meet with respect promote this possibility. Thank you. So, hello everyone, and welcome to this continuation of the Introduction to Meditation series. And for this current series that we're coming to the last week, and the last week of it, and two announcements. One is that probably I'll start a new series on Monday. Maybe it's Introduction to Meditation Part 2, or maybe we call it the Intermediate Instructions. But I think it'd be nice to continue on this and build on what we've done these weeks. And the second is that there was a time we used to do some community meetings on Zoom, usually on Fridays at the end of the week. And I haven't had the chance to do that for a long time, but I do have this Friday. So I'll post a Zoom link on IMC's What's New, and and then I will also announce it again, and then I'll post it in the chat on Friday. And we'll go there right after this meeting on YouTube. And those of you who like to come together, we'll have some time for maybe me for me to give some updates, maybe for you to ask me some questions, and maybe for some breakout groups so some of you can meet each other and have small conversations. So as for today, the continuation of practice, the deepening of mindfulness practice, is greatly helped by wisdom. Wisdom is the quality of understanding that supports us from, that kind of protects us from getting entangled, being caught with what our experience is or what's happening. We don't get reactive, we don't get attached, we don't get resentful, we don't hostile to, but rather what supports us to meet things with a profound respect, for ourselves, where we can kind of hold our seat, take our place in a clear, upright way, and be able to meet people with respect, with kindness, and maybe with wisdom, because we've taken the time to really know what's happening here and now. So one of the advantages of developing some concentration with mindfulness is that concentration tends to quiet the thinking mind. And as the thinking mind gets quieter, then we see the thinking mind better. It begins, when it does arise, we start seeing it in highlight against the silence, against the stillness. Often in daily life, we're so busy thinking we don't even know we're thinking. Distracted from distractions by distractions. And the thoughts might be coming so fast that we almost don't have time to really assess what's going on. But as we sit and meditate, there's a tendency to get calmer, not always, but when it does, and then we can start seeing the thoughts as they arise, see them in highlight. And we can start seeing the nature of some of these thoughts. We can start seeing them for what they are. And in doing that, we become, able to see start seeing something without free of the lens of the particular concepts, ideas, paradigm, even by which we're living, and we can see with fresh eyes, see in new ways. And so, as practice develops, we develop more and more wisdom. We understand better what's happening, and the understanding makes it easier not to get caught in it. So I want to do a little show and tell around this. And first I'm going to hold up a flower. And this flower, it's it's a little flower of sorts, and a little purple and green. And if you hold up just a flower, it's just a flower. And there's a famous story that's told, kind of mythic story, that the Buddha was in an assembly of people, and he held up a single flower and didn't say anything. But one disciple smiled. And the Buddha recognized this, and then recognized somehow the awakening of that disciple, and gave him permission to be a teacher himself. And this is a story is particularly told in the Zen tradition. And so Buddha just hold up the flower. And one of the things about the flower is the suchness of the flower. Just the flower is itself. And many times we think flowers are beautiful and appreciate them. And in Japan they have sometimes a custom of having a single flower in a special place, in a tokamono, a special alcove in the wall, and by having just one, not a big bouquet of flower, but a single flower that then highlights the specialness of the flower, the thusness, the suchness, the flower in itself. When we put a big bouquet, it's beautiful maybe with colors and everything, but the uniqueness and specialness of each flower is lost in the whole bouquet. So just holding up a flower, and so maybe we appreciate that. But then we can do something different. Is I can hold up a different flower, and this one is new one is smaller. I don't know if how well you can see it, but it's a smaller flower. And so now we can say something we couldn't say before. We can say that this flower is the large flower, and this flower is the small flower. This flower is the, that's pretty straightforward and obvious. And if someone, if I asked someone to go get the large flower of two flowers, if this is what they were looking for, they would bring this one to me. So it's very effective if I have something in particular in mind to call this the large and this the small. But now look what happens if I'll do magic in front of your eyes, and you'll see how the hand trick works of the magic. So remember, this is the small flower and this is a large flower. And so now I bring this flower. And now the flower that was a small flower before, the big flower before, the large, is now the smaller flower, where this white one is bigger. And so now what was small, what was large is now small, right in front of your eyes. And so it turns out that large and small is not inherent in the flower. Large and small involves the mental capacity to compare one thing and another. And so the flower in and of itself is neither large nor small. It just is what it is. Humans, with our capacity to compare and our capacity to have desires, preferences, the desire to make things happen in the world, find it useful to compare the large flower and the small flower depending on the context. But comparisons don't exist inherently in nature. It turns out that a fair amount of human suffering is one way or the other born from comparative thinking. That many people suffer because of how their body looks. And that means they're comparing their body to other people's bodies, their hair, their nose, their fingers, their belly, whatever. And or they're comparing it to some ideal we have of how it should be. It turns out that the body parts that we have can exist happily in their suchness. Many times they can just be. Our hair can just be our hair. Our hair is content to be what it is, whether we have a lot or little or something. And but it's because of our comparisons, our values, our fears, our stories we have around that we begin to suffer. We compare histories and biographies and compare people by what we've done and not done. We compare ourselves with our past to our present to what our imagined future is. We compare values. We compare, it goes on and on. This comparison one to the other. We have thoughts, and we think that's the most beatific, wonderful thought anybody's ever had. We have another thought, and we think that we have the most awful thought that anybody's ever had. And that involves comparison. Now, some of these comparisons have some usefulness in order to get things done in the world, and but it's also the ways in which tremendous amount of suffering happens. If we sit in meditation, we might compare our breathing. Yesterday I had a deep, long, sweet breath, and today the breath is shallow and tight. And we're comparing it, and through that comparison we want yesterday's breath, or we condemn today's breath. The breathing is just like the flower. The isness of the breath is just what it is. A shallow, tight breath is just a shallow, tight breath. It's uncomfortable, but that's just discomfort in and of itself, with no comparison to how it could be or how it used to be. And so there's something very profound that can happen when we see, my reaction, my way of getting tight here, resistant, or of getting mentally entangled, is born from the mental capacity to be comparing things. That's an activity of my mind. As we meditate and get quieter, that activity has a chance to quiet down. And we can see that it's somewhat optional. We don't have to always have these thoughts. Sometimes they're useful, as I said, but oftentimes they're a source of unnecessary suffering. And meditation is a time where we try to give ourselves the gift of letting ourselves just be in our isness, the suchness. We are the flower. We are the single flower that's allowed to exist without any comparison to anything else, where the beauty, the uniqueness, the specialness of each of us as flowers is allowed to just be as it is, regardless of the characteristics of our body, regardless of our belief systems, regardless of our past and the future, regardless of whether we're healthy or sick or have some limitation or not limited in some ways, that all those things are something we can respect and care for at the right time. But to live caught in those or oppressed by all kinds of things is a major source of human suffering. And to sit in meditation, think of meditation as the place where we are allowed to just breathe, just exist as we are, to be the unique flower that we are. And for a few minutes, put aside all the comparative thinking, so that just to be alive is wonderful, just to be here and now, free of all these comparisons. And of course, that's easier said than done, and part of mindfulness practice is when the comparative thinking arises, to recognize it as such, and step away from it so we're not entangled with it. Turn around and look at it clearly. Oh, that's comparative thinking. And then meet it carefully. Steady ourselves on that. Ah, that's how it is. And maybe 3 breaths journey with, oh, that's the mind that compares. Then maybe feeling the physical sensations of what comparative thinking is like. Feel the underlying emotion. Each of them is given their time. Each we're met with respect, taking our time. And perhaps you'll discover the gift of letting yourself be a flower, letting yourself just be yourself, breathing, meditating, just being yourself, practicing with that. So this is how wisdom can operate, part of wisdom. And as your practice goes along, there might become a day where this kind of wisdom becomes obvious and available, and it'll support the further development of the meditation. So thank you very much, and I look forward to meeting tomorrow.